help us unpack that story and put it into context, we have Ambassador Mohan Kumar once again joining us, former ambassador to France and well-known expert on international trade as well. Ambassador Mohan Kumar, you know, we are likely to see Trump imposing 157% tariffs on Chinese imports. I mean, are we likely to see that is the question. And if so, how will it affect global supply chains, inflation, and the things like that?
So let me begin by saying that one of the things that geopolitical analysts have not been able to decipher about President Trump is his China policy. Because he has blown hot and cold and he has flip-flopped and changed so much that it is impossible to really decipher what exactly the bottom line will be when push comes to shove. So having made that opening statement, let me say that I do expect some kind of deal between US and China, only because both countries know that this is a war they cannot afford in the medium to long term. Both economies are vulnerable, in my view, and both are joined at the hip. So if you use common sense and logic, it's hard for me to believe that one country or the other will completely sink this trade relationship. Having said that, we are dealing with two leaders who are struggling with domestic issues, different domestic issues, but domestic issues. The second issue is both leaders are trying to also save face because they can't afford a loss of face. And third, I think there are external factors at work here. Domestic politics, for example, is playing a role. President Xi Jinping would like to indicate to the Chinese the fourth plenum of the Chinese Communist Party is taking place as we speak. And he would like to give the image to the Chinese Communist Party members and his general public that he's standing up to the United States. For the US, it is even more important that President Trump gives the impression that he is not going to succumb to pressure from China. He has got a soybean problem. American farmers have suddenly realized that China is not buying their agricultural products and that China is buying it from Brazil. This is not good news for domestic constituencies in the US. So all in all, Mark, it's a very, very complex situation. What I expect is for the two leaders to meet, but not have a full deal. I think there will just be an interim agreement between the two sides where both will say, okay, let's take a step back. Let's stop doing this brinkmanship and then maybe a deal beginning of next year. But that's just my rough guess. I'm not saying this with any intelligence or anything.
Let's try and look at what each side has for leverage. You know, are China's export controls on rare earths actually hitting the US defense, electronics, and other industries hard?
Yes, without a doubt. China has real leverage vis-a-vis the United States when it comes to rare earths and critical minerals. You will also see that is why the US and Australia have agreed to a minerals, rare earths and critical minerals deal. So there is no question that China has important leverage in terms of exports of rare earths and critical minerals. They also have leverage in terms of buying agricultural products from American farmers.
Right. Also, you did mention that this is largely, both leaders are dealing with domestic constituencies. But is this also for greater geopolitical influence, the manner in which they are talking, or the manner in which both sides are holding back, in a sense, and not really giving in too much?
Oh, there's no question that the US-China relationship will have geopolitical implications, especially for countries of Asia, and especially, I would say, countries like India, because if the US and China are able to have a deal, a full deal, not an interim arrangement, but a full deal, then that leaves each country to actually assert itself vis-a-vis other partners. And that will have implications for other countries in Asia and so on. Some ASEAN countries may want this détente or deal, but I'm not sure others will be happy about it. It will depend on what kind of a deal China and the US eventually agree among themselves.
Right.
But as I said earlier, Mark, one of the things that at least I have not been able to decipher is a clear China policy from the Trump administration. Everything else has been more or less clear. Their attitude towards Latin America and the Western Hemisphere, the attitude towards Europe, where they want Europe to pay the bill, their attitude towards Middle East, where I think they're able to put pressure on Israel for a Gaza deal. But
Right.
nothing is clear as yet on China, because
Indeed.
what we have seen is a lot of threats from both sides, but both sides have also walked back. So it's not clear to me what exactly the situation will be when the two leaders sit opposite each
So,
other, and you'll have to wait and see how this meeting
so
goes.
before this, I mean, as we wait and see, what diplomatic pathways remain, open for de-escalation, let's say before ASEAN and even APEC?
No, I mean, obviously, the Chinese have to make the first move in terms of telling the US that on rare earths and critical minerals, there will be some kind of relaxation, and it cannot be a completely, a boilerplate kind of ban. I
Yes.
think that will not work. So there has to be a move on the part of China that, listen, we are happy to relax some of our exports in return for something they will get from the US, which has to be in terms of relaxation of tariffs. Because at 115% tariff, you are essentially talking about trade between the two countries coming to a standstill.
Right.
Trade will simply not happen at that level of tariff.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Mohan Kumar, the former ambassador of India, expert on international trade. Thank you for putting that into context for us.